I'll tell you, this is probably one of the absolute coolest bikes for this kind of specific thing that I've personally ridden quite recently. Hi, it's me, Andrez, and this is the Kawasaki Z900. A dirty Kawasaki Z900, because this is the last day I have this bike for testing. And surprisingly, I've put quite a few kilometers on it since I've ridden it around the city and also took it on a trip. I rarely put so many kilometers on naked bikes, because usually a short ride is enough for me. And honestly, I prefer to take them to the track and quickly find out what's what there. As for the 900, which I know very little about, because as you know, I usually don't read technical specs or other tests, so I don't program myself. But the motorcycle, at first impression, feels very Japanese, but also like a new kind of Japanese. Because look, the frame is really interesting. It's practically a trellis frame, totally flashy, neon green, just like the rims. Kawasaki Heavy Industries, but it's not very heavy. Haha, just a little joke. And it has a 900cc engine. And it's funny because back in the day, middle-class naked bikes used to have 600cc engines. Kawasaki started with the Z900, and now they're almost at a liter, yet they're still considered middle class. The world has kind of gone a bit overboard, but honestly, I like it because now I have a really powerful motorcycle. It's about 120 horsepower, and if I had to guess the weight, or maybe I'll put it somewhere here, it's probably ready to ride at around 200 kilograms. In my opinion, that's the standard weight for this class of vehicle. But as for adjustable suspension, this one actually doesn't have it here, because the adjustment is on the other side. On the back as well, someone on Facebook, after I posted my quick first impressions, pointed out that yes, the rear is adjustable, but actually getting to it with the tool is just a nightmare. So thanks for feedback from someone who really rides a lot, and his first impressions matched mine. Surprisingly, hold on, I'll get on and start riding. Surprisingly, when I was riding this motorcycle, it felt like it didn't vibrate at all. And it turns out that it doesn't vibrate at high revs or at low revs. And I only ever use this motorcycle either at high revs or at low revs. And indeed, when I'm riding, I feel on my feet that, wow, it's amazing. The motorcycle doesn't vibrate at all. But when I get off, of course, I feel a slight tingling in my hands, which means, as I said before, that it doesn't vibrate at all. It seems I wasn't entirely right, but in my opinion, these vibrations are completely standard. I'd also like to show what this bike is capable of, and I want to do it somewhere with no traffic. I wonder if someone will come after me for this later. We'll see. Remember, what you see in my videos, don't try this at home, because you can't ride motorcycles at home, but also don't try this on the streets. I'm begging you, because otherwise I'll be the one to blame. I suggest that if you want to try it out, find an unused airfield or one you can pay to use and go there. A closed off section of road, anything like that, just try it there, because your health and the health of others is too precious. Remember, everything I learned on closed lots, airfields and similar places, because there no one was chasing after me for it. So the motorcycles, I already mentioned, my first big bike was a Hornet 600, and if I had a Kawasaki Z900 back then, I don't know, I would have gone crazy with happiness and probably thought I didn't need any other motorcycle, because as I said, it's a turbo refined Japanese bike. What's funny is that this is already a rarity, an endangered species. Back in the day, for me, a naked bike basically meant only an inline 4-cylinder, and nothing else even counted, because I was obsessed with Japanese motorcycles, just like probably many of you. And now, what do we have left? The Honda CB650, which is definitely weaker and is already in a bit of a different class than this. There's the CB1000, which on the other hand is much more powerful. There's the X1000. There are some leftover 4-cylinder models, but it's not like it used to be, in my opinion. It used to be that they dominated everywhere. And honestly, I still think that 4 cylinders in a row is a brilliant thing, because it makes the motorcycle very versatile. Look, I'm riding now in 6th gear at 2,500 RPM. I open the throttle and look, it just accelerates. If I downshift here, and I'll get to the gearbox in a moment, boom, boom. If I want to go fast, all I have to do is rev it up to high RPM. If I want to ride dynamically, all I need to do is stay in the mid-range RPM. So inline 4-cylinder engines give us that flexibility. And in every range, they're very predictable. They run very smoothly. So I've said many times that for learning to ride motorcycles, Wait a second, something's flapping around here. So, for learning to ride, 4-cylinder motorcycles are really brilliant. And after all, that's how I learned. Hop, sorry, thank you. I learned to ride on exactly these kinds of motorcycles. First I had a Hornet, then a CBR F4i, and that's what I learned everything I know on. And why would I love this motorcycle if I ever had it? First and foremost, for the brakes and suspension. It's a world of difference, but unfortunately I can't afford to make a video and show you this suspension compared to what it used to be like. Because here, the frame that's used is, first of all, quite flexible, and it has sharp geometry, so this motorcycle is agile. It wants to turn, you can feel that it's light, but on the other hand, thanks to the good suspension and surprisingly very good brake 7, though they don't even have to be radial brakes, as you can see, it handles just like a sport motorcycle from back in the day. Simple as that. Maybe it's not super stiff, glued completely to the asphalt or ultra stable, but it's stable enough to ride it very safely, and at the same time so agile that you want to ride it dynamically. Here as well, the gentleman who owns this motorcycle points out something I also noticed right away, that when you enter a corner aggressively, sometimes you feel a bit of instability at the front. I thought that if I adjusted the suspension here, it would get much better. Sure, it might get a bit better, but he said that this instability is always there. But also, from what I understood, it's not something that really bothers him, because I've ridden very unstable motorcycles, and that just means those bikes simply want to turn, and if it were dangerous in any way, then that motorcycle would certainly come equipped with a steering damper as standard. And it isn't, because it has wide handlebars and we can control everything. All the more so because, as I said, it's not dangerous at all, it's just a certain feeling. But thanks to that, it's actually fun and above all comfortable. Because I also don't like it when a motorcycle is stupidly stiff, since it's easy to make a stiff motorcycle, but then where am I supposed to go with it? And in my opinion, the real skill is to make a motorcycle that's soft and comfortable. So that, for example, if there's a speed bump, it doesn't jolt us out of the seat, but instead we just hop over it and it's all good, while at the same time it's stable enough to ride well. What immediately got my attention, oh look, I saw it. I deliberately rode onto the gravel and the traction control kicked in, just like that. I'll get to the gearbox in a moment, but first I'll talk about the traction control, how you could actually see it working. We have different riding motorsport, rain and so on, and they automatically adjust the power delivery characteristics for us. And wait, I'll stop and show you the power delivery characteristics and the traction control. Let's wait. Road is the standard mode. Rain, and they automatically change the settings, which you can adjust yourself in rider mode, like power and FIL. And it's funny because L means reduced power, but I actually really enjoy the riding with it in the city. You can just give it gas, rev the engine, and it's not insanely fast. Now, rider mode is set to full power and traction control to level 1. And this is what's most important. Traction control set to level 1 allows the bike to slide a bit, and at the same time the wheelie control option is not enabled. So we can ride this motorcycle on the rear wheel and we can slide it around a bit. And these Dunlops around here help with sliding, because these Road Sport 2S are great once they heat up. But when they're pretty cool, when they're cold, they're quite slippery. And I'll tell you, it's kind of funny, you ride this bike through a corner, you can ride it. Okay, it was a dumb idea to try it here because it's grippy here. But anyway, when you hit some slick asphalt, you can feel the rear end just slipping out, but the computer handles everything. So this level of traction control is absolutely sufficient for a naked bike. So here comes some gravel, so I'll be able to give it a little slip. See, the tire even squealed, it squealed. The bike didn't bog down, it didn't cut out, it just revved up. It slipped. See, and that's with traction control on, so it's just like that. So it simply supports. Of course you can turn it off completely, but I've been riding this motorcycle for a week and I haven't turned it off even once because I didn't see any point in it. What a very nice motorcycle. I mean, car, but when you have traction control on, you just ride along and do this trick. No problem. Oh! As usual, when you ride on the rear wheel for a longer time, the ABS turns off, and that allows us to do this, which is quite enjoyable. First time I did it with this one. So a Japanese motorcycle, just as we know it, very eager to do things, very practical for everyday use, because you can ride it softly and comfortably. But if you want to mess around, just look. And here, look, I was burning rubber even with the traction control on. I mean, doing donuts. And interestingly, there isn't really enough space here. With this engine, you can pop this motorcycle up into a wheelie in second gear and control it for a really long time. It's a pity I don't have an airstrip to show you that. I won't hide the fact that in a place where there was no traffic, it was empty, and there was a longer straight. I let myself try it once to see how it works, and you can shift gears and ride on the rear wheel for a really long time. Can you do it standing up too? Look at that control, right? Quick brake and quick again, and all of that with traction control on. And that's exactly what's wonderful about four-cylinder engines. They're so easy to control. But it's funny because I think I can hear the traction control working a bit and intervening a little, but at the same time it doesn't get in the way. Not excessively. So alright, I'll do it again because it's fun and I'm just riding along. I have to tell you, this is probably without a doubt one of the absolute coolest and most capable bikes for this particular kind of challenging off-road stuff that I've had the distinct pleasure of riding lately. Alright, that's enough fooling around for now. It's brilliant. When I had the Hornet and wanted to ride on the rear wheel or the front, the suspension just couldn't handle it, you know? Or something like that. But here, bam, it's poetry. Hello, hello, hello. But since the bike is only for messing around, I actually took it on a trip. It has an accessory windscreen, and honestly, you just go, it's comfortable. This riding position, the legs are quite high, which lets you lean it hard at speed, but at the same time, it's comfortable enough that my busted shins didn't suffer on the trip, because honestly, it was totally fine. There you go. As for the top speed, I've heard legends that 240 isn't a problem. I think that if you really tried riding without the backpack, you could even brush up against 250. So honestly, that's pretty fast. There was a discussion about whether we care about fuel consumption or not. It's uncorked, but honestly, I don't really ride it in an especially economical way. Right now it's burning 5.2, but on average I get 7.9. I think realistically, it's around 7 liters per 100 kilometers. But now we're moving on to something that's both a plus and a minus. Because the gearbox is a plus, I can't remember the last time I encountered such a light and nicely precise gearbox in a Japanese motorcycle, I mean in a naked bike. Because the gears engage so smoothly and lightly. Look, I'm not even using the clutch at all. It's just super pleasant, super nice, really cool. But the problem is that there's no quick shifter, so to change gears you still have to work the throttle, and as far as I know, a quick shifter isn't available as an original accessory. There are always issues with quick shifters, so honestly, to make up for it, I'm riding between first and second gear. I always use the clutch, but look now, third, fifth, sixth at high revs, it's the same. And now I'm coming up to a traffic light, and look, that's enough. Can you do it? You can. For me, it's that kind of Japanese old school style that's really well refined. Just look at these gauges. They're so smooth, everything works perfectly. You can feel that this is something solid really well put together. So I genuinely believe this fundamental idea still makes perfect sense. And I sincerely hope that the Kawasaki Z900 will continue to last for a very long time. Because honestly speaking, it is truly a remarkably great and versatile motorcycle with an incredibly wide and impressive range of practical uses. That's it. If you have any additional questions, feel free to ask. Take care. Bye!